Oh, quite a few people are coming. That's exciting. Theo, I think they're all coming for you, sir. You're the celebrity.
You were the one that posted it all over LinkedIn, Francis.
Is that what it was? Yeah. I added your name. That's what it was. I put your name in the bio and said he will be here. No, but we really appreciate taking time out on your busy schedule. I know that some people got the message quite late, so we do apologize for that. But we thank you for taking the time out to join us today. Okay. We do have a couple of things to get through, so as much as I love to wait for a couple more people, I think it's time for us to start. Okay, let's start. So, welcome. I hope you're all well. First things first, I would like to do a couple of house keeping rules with concerns to the Q&A. If you have any questions at any point during this session, please can you use the Q&A function rather than the chat function. In the chat function, sometimes some questions are lost. Q&A, we can make sure that we all attend to your questions. Write the question when you have it, and we'll cover it all at the end. So we do have a good portion set aside for that. Okay, let's keep on going. Hi, hello everybody, welcome. My name is Francis Arimo. I've been with Handshake for the last, feels like years, but only for the last 5 months. But for the last 8-9 years, I've been kind of dedicated to this talent acquisition and technology. So I've worked for quite a few reputable brands around how to help more people get into more opportunities, help with branding, help with stuff like job descriptions and job titles, but all the things that help different individuals get the roles that they deserve and support them in achieving. So that's a little bit about me. I'd love to kind of hand over to Theo to give an introduction about himself.
Thanks, Francis. Hi, everybody. Great to meet you all. My name is Theo Jagorczyk. I am based out in New York. I have been with Handshake since day one of the pandemic. I joined in the middle of March, right as we all got sent home. So virtual recruiting has been my life at Handshake for the last 18 months, and excited to chat with you all a little bit about that. I'm an enterprise customer success manager. So what that means is I work with our premium customers, first of all, to advise them on strategy with regards to virtual recruiting more broadly. And then specifically what we're going to be looking at today is making sure my premium customers understand how to use the technology and the software that we at Handshake have built. So looking forward to getting into that later.
All right, perfect. See a couple other names trickling. Welcome. All right, so this is kind of the agenda. I thought it would be great for us to kind of give a basic overview of what is Handshake, why do we exist, why virtual is here to stay, and then some best practices, and then we'll have a Q&A. So it's a short agenda, and hopefully it will be enjoyable as well. So what is Handshake? I feel the best way of describing it is most platforms that exist around, so we're talking about job boards or job sites, they really focus around how do we connect our employers, so the companies, to candidates. And they only really focus on this kind of one partnership. Handshake is different. We understood that there are multiple relationships that we need to be focused on. And so we've included this first dynamic, universities. And so Handshake is what universities will use to kind of manage their relationships with their students when it comes to careers. And also it's, let me say it another way. Quite often, amazing universities will have career centers that will have 10 people and those 10 individuals are trying to cater or support sometimes 10,000 students, and it's just not possible. That's me being polite. But also they also get quite a lot of other employers, and that they also need to support. Maybe 50, 100, sometimes 150 employers are reaching out to them on a constant basis. And so with Handshake, we we enable those employers, those universities, to manage their communications with their students around careers, but also support them in managing their relationships with their employers. And so our focus is really to strengthen all of these relationships. And we do that by having a platform that is really focused on making sure that information that doesn't need to be done repetitively can be done in a streamlined way. So we've been around in the US for the last 8 years. Across the US, we have over 1,200 universities and schools on our platform. Students, we have over 9 million active students. In the UK, we started last year, and we've grown quite a bit. So at the beginning of last year, early last year, we was roughly about 4 universities and 14,000 students, and that's grown quite a bit. And so we're a little bit more than 14 universities right now. We're at 17 universities that have kind of signed up, and we're waiting for them to be rolled out. So that's a little bit about the network, but the real question is, what do we do, and how do we do it? What we do ultimately is we enable the employers and universities to have a more streamlined and more structured way of connecting with their students. And we do that in multiple ways. Typically, I'm not too sure if some recruiters were used to this or have come across this before, where you have big, long kind of Excel spreadsheets of different usernames and email addresses, and you have to kind of copy and paste and kind of log into all the different instances on the different universities to post one particular job. And it becomes a kind of a painstaking task and takes up half your day. And I can envision some people nodding along because they're used to doing that. Whereas with the Handshake platform, and the great thing is you can message all the universities that you want to partner with in kind of one moment. And once they approve, you'll be allowed to post your jobs for a certain amount of time with them. So it just makes your job so much easier and so much streamlined. So the heart behind it is really what that does is it does 3 things. It saves times for universities because they can see all of the requests in one place, and it's almost easy for them to do it. They can also automate for some employers that to say, if it's this employer, we're happy for them to post a job automatically, so they can automate the process as well. It's great for the students because they get more jobs quicker to them, and it's great for employers because it saves them so much time. So really, we're trying to help all sides of this marketplace to ultimately bring more opportunities to more people. So this is something that we've seen, and this is important for 2 reasons. So apart from the fact this is a great stat, that our peak periods in the UK and the US is different. The US peak period is much earlier, so really around this time is kind of their peak period of when students are applying for roles, whereas our peak period in the UK, we kind of had 2 peak periods, kind of mid-October and the true peak being beginning of November. Apart from the fact that we understand that the system is different, what I feel that is important about this is last year when we ran campaigns and we saw the peak with concerns to career fairs and people applying for jobs, we saw that there was some things that we could change and alter. So it meant that by the time the UK had their own peak, we were able to have those things already corrected, had it standardized. And so we're able to learn from some of the mistakes that have been made in the US, and kind of learn kind of best practices or best kind of performances to ensure that we tailor make our system. We do understand that the US and the UK are very different countries, but then what we do understand also that we can learn from them and also kind of adapt our product where need be. I'm gonna keep on going. So I guess the real question is really like, why virtual is here to stay? And there's multiple ways or multiple things when we think about virtual. There's virtual kind of recruitment when it comes to interviews. There's virtual when it comes to events. Ultimately, are we still going to be having as many Zoom conversations kind of after this kind of COVID's disappeared? And why is it important and the benefits of it? The reason why one first reason why we believe it's kind of here to stay, especially for like events, is higher education and employers yourselves has told us that this is something that you prefer to have, even on a kind of a hybrid level, maybe not a kind of full virtual, but even on a hybrid level, most institutions and most organizations will rather have virtual to be around, mainly because of the flexibility, mainly because the accessibility as well, and the scalability. So you can do multiple meetings more so than you could have done previously. But let me keep on moving forward. Also, we've surveyed and we found that women prefer virtual compared to men. So, and the majority are women. And this is really important when we're thinking about underrepresented groups, and we're trying to have that gender parity. It is important if we want to make sure that we're recruiting more diverse talent, we need to cater to the diverse talent and their needs and the requirements. I want to keep on pressing forward. Okay. Don't forget, if you have any questions, please fill in the Q&A box, and we can definitely handle those at the end if I don't target it here. Also, we'll be sending you these slides as well, so don't fret. You will be getting this afterwards as well. So the real question is, what are the students kind of saying around virtual? And I'm not going to focus on all of them, but I thought that the one that I didn't initially think of that stood out to me was the first one, less intimidating. 71% of students find virtual is less intimidating. And when we're thinking about the amount of people that you have to see on a day-to-day basis to fill certain roles, it doesn't work out well if you don't get the best performance from the candidates that's in front of you. And so if we can create an environment that is less intimidating for the individuals, and that helps them perform better and helps them just ultimately, put their best foot forward, it's beneficial for everybody, because you have limited amount of time to see numerous amount of people, and you have to make quick judgments with very limited resources. And so but us creating an environment that everybody's comfortable is probably the best thing for everybody. But I'm not gonna labor that point, but that really stood out to me and struck home. And here's a couple more kind of statements from different students. The only one that I'm going to focus on, like I'm going to send you this, and some of you may take screenshots, and that's totally fine, is this bottom statement. So I'm shy and autistic. I found myself far more likely to interact with employers on screen than approach them in person at a crowded event. And just the notion of what we used to do back when we used to see people in person, it is so hard to try and get the best talent in a crowd or get them to stop. You're literally looking at a person and you're assuming that this may be someone that could be a good fit. And there's so much assumptions that's being made and so much biases that's connected with that. Being able to create an environment where everybody's comfortable and everybody has an equal playing field, rather than focused on just the introverts or just extroverts, for example, and just the people that have that kind of, confidence or that to speak to random people. I feel that all virtual caters for everybody and more diverse talent. So I just want to kind of focus on that. And lastly, so one of our partners has said that by them being virtual, and like I said, we're happy to send this over, it has increased their student engagement and their application rates. And that's partly because we have another stat from another partner that says 90% of the students that has engaged with them on a 90% of students have engaged with them on a one-on-one basis or via an event and have gone to apply. And so it's one of those, people more likely to apply for your roles if they kind of meet you, have a conversation with you, and so forth. And so that's really that. And I feel that ultimately, when we're thinking about kind of our next steps for the next couple of years, I feel that virtual needs to be an aspect we need to think about and consider. So I'm going to hand it over to Theo, who's going to kind of walk us through what that looks like for Handshake, and yeah, go from there. All right, Theo, over to you.
Thanks, Francis. And if you could let me share my screen, I will go ahead and demo the product. Great. So, I mean, Francis has just been through, virtual. It was something that came about and really accelerated during COVID, but we think it's here to stay. One of the big aspects of that is obviously virtual career fairs. And what I want to do today is walk through, and I think the reason a lot of you are interested in this webinar is how to register for a career fair, what some of the best practices are on Handshake for getting success with those virtual career fairs. And then finally, how do you promote it and make sure people actually come in a world where we don't have crowded rooms full of people just walking by and passing foot traffic. So I'm going to walk through those 3 steps. And as ever, questions in the Q&A. So I'm looking here at the Handshake UK profile. So the first question is, how do you find a career fair on Handshake? I am going to go down to fairs here in the bottom left. And you'll see this is in the UK. We have, I think, 37 career fairs listed for the coming season. So quite a large number, and you can browse by a variety of different metrics. To our point, there is 1 in-person fair listed and 36 virtual. So we think the real balance of where career fairs are going to be taking place for the foreseeable future is online. And here at the top, I think a lot of people are interested in this upcoming fair that we have, Ireland, Northern Ireland Virtual Careers Fair. This is hosted by Handshake. Most career fairs are going to be hosted by a university, right? So you can see Sheffield Hallam, University of Exeter, University of Cambridge. If I wanted to register for a fair, I'm going to hit that register button in the top right-hand corner of a career fair page. That's going to take me to a custom field that the university has determined. So this is going to be different for every fair, so I won't really go into these details, but just know that some are going to ask for a fee, some are not, some are free to attend. That's on the university to decide. And then they're going to ask some things about the types of roles you're hiring for, what kind of students you're looking for, which course type you might be interested in, which school year you're interested in, and they'll probably ask for your payment information. This is really a custom field, so not much to note here other than this is the registration process. Once you've completed it, you'll create a registration, and that will go through to the university. They're then going to have an individual on their side that's actually going to review your application to attend based on everything you've put in here, and they should get back to you usually within 24 to 48 hours, confirming your registration. So that's the step you need to take with the university to indicate that you're attending. But what I want to walk you through today is perhaps the more important step of making sure that the students know you're coming. So it's great that the university knows you're coming to their fair, but you're not trying to hire people from career services, you're trying to hire students. And so we want to make sure they know that you're coming as well. So I'm going to flip away from the real version of Handshake and into the demo version of Handshake to illustrate that a little bit more. So what I'm looking at here is the CSB Logistics employer page. That's a fake company that we created for this demo account. And they have registered for a fair. And I'm going to see if I can find that fair really quick. So I think I just this morning registered for this Christmas career fair at Cornell University. And you can see that that register for fair button has now turned into a green check because the career services there have approved my application to attend this fair. So I'm now ready to go. What I need to do, though, is I now need to set up a schedule. So the way we think about virtual career fairs is instead of this being a crowded room where it's just a bun fight to get somebody's attention and people are waiting in lines and you're talking over each other, we decided that the shift to virtual was an opportunity to really reformat the way that careers fairs were configured. And so we created a schedule-based approach to things where students could express ahead of time which events they wanted to come to, whether that would be a one-on-one small conversation with an individual, or maybe a group session where they can learn a little bit more about a company. You, as the employer, need to configure what that schedule is before students can even view it. So this is probably more important than the actual act of registering. Is if I go here, you can see I need to set a schedule. This is a blank page currently. Let me tell you why that's a problem. If I'm a student, let's go back to this career fair. I'll show you what this looks like from the point of view of a student, actually. So I go to this career fair. Maybe I'm interested in meeting with CSB Logistics. I'll take a look at what sessions are available. Oh, look, CSB Logistics isn't even on the page yet. I can meet with Airbnb, I can meet with Bank of America, but you as CSB Logistics haven't created a schedule yet, so I'm not even going to really know that you're there unless I do some digging into the sort of details and, oh yeah, they're attending, but I don't see any opportunity to actually sign up to chat with them as a student. So I show you this just to indicate, I'm going to go back to the employer side now, why it's important to create that schedule. I haven't done that step yet, so students can't see that I'm attending. So how do you create a schedule? You will get an email notification asking you to do this. It'll link to this page. Once your registration is approved, let's assume you've had that email and you've clicked this button. Maybe you missed the email and you've come to this page anyway, and you see that you're able to add sessions. So you're going to click that button to add sessions. And you're going to go through a 4-step process to get this set up. So the first, you can see those steps on the left, actually. You're going to choose who's coming to the fair. You're going to choose whether you are doing group sessions. That's where 1 or 2 people might be talking to multiple students at the same time. You're going to choose whether you want to do one-on-one sessions. That's where you might have an individual private 10-minute chat with one student, and then you're going to review. So who's coming? Well, I'm going to this fair, and let's add Francis as well. If there was a team member, and this happens quite a lot actually with careers fairs, if there was somebody who you want to have come to this fair, but maybe they've never logged into Handshake before, so that could be somebody who works in the business, they're not a recruiter, they're not an expert at this stuff, you now need to add them to Handshake in order for them to be able to attend this fair. So we have those links ready for you here. You can copy an invite link. Maybe I want to have a representative at my fair. So I would select a representative and I can copy that and just send it to them over email and say, hey, I need you to create this profile so I can add you to my career fair. Or if you don't want to send them a link, you can also click this button to fill out their information manually. They will still need to, they'll get a confirmation email, they'll need to accept the terms of service in order to activate that account, though you can't do everything for them. But let's say they've already done that and it's myself and Francis. We're the only two people who are going to go to this fair. Give this a second to load and I will add that team. Okay. So step 2 is deciding on group sessions. My recommendation for you is absolutely you should be doing group sessions. What we typically see from students is they want one opportunity where they can be a little bit in the background. Maybe they can sort of raise their hand if they're bold and have a question, someplace that they can learn about your organization, and then a one-to-one maybe a bit later where maybe they've got their confidence up. As Francis was pointing out earlier, virtual does enable people to feel a bit more confident. It's less intimidating, but a group session really helps with that at the beginning of your schedule, followed by one-to-ones. So let's say, yes, we're planning to have a group session. We'll use the Handshake embedded video session. That means that when you do the career fair on the day of, that video will just pop straight up. We don't want to record it. We'll give it a title that's exciting. Don't just call it group session. Many employers do. You can be more intentional about this, building a career in logistics. Something that's a little bit more descriptive. You can play around with the language here, but do something that's going to be enticing to students. You saw that listing page from the point of view of a student. There are a lot of events listed. And if a group session is just called group session number 1, it's going to look less interesting than something that actually has a fun title. And maybe both Francis and I will attend this, so we'll select the number of people coming as 2. And we will be choosing the time. So my recommendation here is probably do it towards the beginning of the allocated slots. You can see the list of all the options are just in 30-minute increments for the entire duration of this fair, which is 3 hours long. So we'll confirm that. Who's going? Both of us are going. And then we have the option to decide who's actually coming to those one-to-one sessions. So I will say, yes, I'm going to do one-to-ones. You then have the option to add requirements, right? So that is a limitation on who can actually speak to you. Maybe I'm only interested, let's add those requirements, in master's students. Maybe I'm only interested in master's engineering students. I can get very specific about this. What that will do is it will limit who can even see your one-to-one slots to sign up. The benefit there is that you are only spending time talking to qualified people rather than just anyone who happened to walk on by. Again, another benefit of virtual there. There's a notification down here at the bottom. We recommend pausing that requirement 48 hours before. So if you don't have full schedules, you do sort of ease that back a little bit and allow more foot traffic. If you're really strict about it, no, I only want to speak to those qualified students. You can play around with this. That's up to you, whether or not you want to remove those requirements 48 hours before. We leave that as a default. And then Francis, sorry, Francis, I'm going to leave you talking to absolutely anybody. So no requirements to talk to Francis. He is an open book. So we're going to schedule him. And that's it. Assign the team. Finally, review who's coming. Those are the 2 of us. We're leading one-to-one sessions. And let's confirm that schedule and invite the team. Give this about 5 seconds and we'll hit reload. And there it is. Boom, we have a schedule. So this is really important because now, again, I'm going to show you, I really pray that this works because I only just created it, but hopefully if I switch over to the student side, this may take a few minutes actually. So I'm playing with fire a little bit on live TV here, but it should be the case. There it is. CSB Logistics is available for me to sign up for. So finally, the student can now actually see what it is that you're doing, who you are, your company description, and they can sign up for that session. So as a student, I can see who's there. I have a conflicting session, so I actually can't make this, but it's there available for me to sign up for. So the question is, okay, it's great that a student could perhaps see that session if they happen to be browsing, but what if I wanted to promote it directly to students? A couple of ways I could do that. I could either go look for an individual student in the candidates tab. So I might find someone who's interactive with me, or I could search for a particular student based on some attribute here. This is a slightly slow page, apologies. And what I could do is I could basically send an individual, so I could look for someone who's at a particular university. I could look for a certain school year or a certain course that they're studying. And I could send them a one-to-one message saying, you know what, Haley looks great. Let's send her a message. And I can invite her to my fair. What I can do there is I can tell Haley, I'm coming to this fair. Would you please go away and look at it? And that would be the best practice there is, go and look for my organization and give them some good reasons that that session is going to be really interesting to them. And typically what we see is that, if you can highlight what it is you're going to talk about in group sessions, if you can talk about why Francis is going to be at your fair and why he's a great resource, that's going to be interesting to students. So that's my recommendation for that type of outreach. I also wanted to quickly walk through what that process looks like if you're a premium user. You then have the ability, instead of doing one-to-one outreach to promote these things, you can do what we call segments and campaigns. That's effectively proactive sourcing, where you can send a message to many, many, many people and encourage them to come to your fair. So I will quickly show you what that process looks like. So I would click on segments, and I would click create segment. And so we have a fair coming up in Northern Ireland. So I might use this section of the product. You'll see I have all of the students on the Handshake network listed, and then a lot of filters that I can start to apply. So if I was interested in meeting with STEM students, I could cut that down in half. The fair coming up is in Northern Ireland, so I could look for students with a location preference for Dublin or for Belfast. And maybe I'm particularly worried about gender diversity in my organization, so I could look for women. So I could say, okay, well, there's a group of 2,000 students who are female STEM students who want to live in Dublin or Belfast. That's perfect. That's a really large number of students that I could promote this fair to, and we could hopefully get some signups. So what I would do is I would save that as Women in STEM, give it a name, Northern Ireland, and save that. Once I've done that search, that's what we call segment creation. I then have the ability to promote things to that group of students. So I can hit that little envelope icon to create a campaign, which is essentially a sequence of messages where you can promote a job, an event, or a career fair, or you can just sort of send a blank message to them with the content of your choosing. So I'll show you what that process looks like as well. So I would go back to my segments list. Here's one I made earlier. So I'm going to create a campaign. And I'm going to promote a career fair, Handshake Virtual. So we'll call this the Northern Ireland Career Fair. I'm going to choose, I actually signed up for that Christmas career fair a little bit earlier on. I'm sending it to my Women in STEM segment, and I'm going to compose that message to them. So what I'll do is I can type some stuff out here. I have these variables which personalize that message. So even though I'm sending it to 2,000 students, it's going to appear that it's very personalized. So I can say, hi, typing live on a webinar is always hard. And I'm coming to the, let's do. So what that does is those variables will then populate according to who it's going to. So I'll give you a quick look of what that looks like from the point of view of a student. Hi, Ada. I'm coming to the Cornell University campus in a few weeks. I'd love to see you at our booth. And what's great about this is now you're adding a link. So instead of just telling the student, we're coming to this fair, please go away and research it, this premium option now directs students specifically to that exact career fair. Not only that, it also directs them only to your schedule. So you saw what that student view looked like previously. It was showing many, many, many different employers. If you want to really direct people to sign up, this sequence of messaging is going to direct a student to a specific link. Let's see if I can open that in a new tab. And then see if I can view that as a student. So you'll see what it does is it puts you right at the top there and gives you the option to go straight to registering for that fair. So instead of just encouraging students to do that outreach for themselves, it's directing them specifically to your open slots. And what we have seen typically with these messages is that they do drive a huge amount of engagement. Process here is to set the schedule. And then here's a few final best practices. What I have seen is that the timing for signups for career fairs is the median signup date is 5 days out. And actually 25% of people do it in the 48 hours before. So if you're thinking about when you want to send messages, probably time your messaging to coincide with that ebb and flow, that natural cycle that students have in terms of how they think about when they're actually going to start planning to go to a career fair. So 5 days out is actually a great time to start sending your outreach. It may be a little uncomfortable for us as recruiters to say, oh my God, nobody's signed up. Everything's in a week. But from the point of view of a student, 5 days is when they start thinking about their plans for that week. So it's really game time once you're at that 5-day mark, and you probably want to send a reminder to students 24 hours out. So those are some of my best practices. I apologize, I don't have a clock in front of me. I should have set one up. I'm not sure if I've run wildly over time or if I'm leaving 2 hours for Q&A, but I'm going to pass it back over to Francis to add some closing notes here.
Yeah, you're right on time. You're right on time. So thank you very much for that, Theo. Yeah, really appreciate it, and definitely clear and concise. With concerns to, I just want to kind of add one thing. With concern to proactive reaching out, we found that some students are quite intimidated. Like I said in the slide, but we find that especially with this age demographic, quite a few people suffer from imposter syndrome, and so they're capable, they're amazing, they're one of the best students within their class, but then they're unfortunately feel that they're inadequate for certain positions or certain companies, and so by you reaching out to them and saying, I've seen your profile, or I've seen you, and I feel that I would love to have a conversation with you, makes the world of difference to the individuals. So just kind of want to highlight that it's a little bit more, but thank you very much, Theo. I would love to go into Q&A. It's not too late, so please throw your questions in. I'm gonna kind of tackle the first one, maybe even the first two, then I'll throw the harder ones to Theo. What I do want to say is, if there is anyone that has an empty schedule that wants their schedule to be filled, kind of just you can send a private message in the chat, but you can then toggle to the button that says host and panelist and just drop your name and your organization. So not everybody has to see it, but then that allows us to know, and we can definitely work with you on that for the fair coming up next week. I can make sure that myself and maybe a few other members of the team will put aside time to do that. We're happy to support you for the fair coming up next week, because 5 days is literally tomorrow. Okay, so one question is, can you add more users at a later date? Yes, you can. You can add, we always suggest kind of adding that first user at least, even if you're not too sure who that person would be, always add at least one person initially, and then we can add more people as time goes on.
Yep, and just demoing that for you, Shell, this is invite a new team member so you can manage your team here. So you can, as Francis was saying, even if, let's say, somebody you initially scheduled can't make it, you can transfer their entire schedule to somebody else on your team. You can invite new team members. And Francis, what was the second question there on the chat? Because I think it was related to sort of last minute changes as well.
Can the team member customize when they're available for one-to-one chats over the duration of the fair? So this is probably better if you demo it rather than me explain.
Yep. Just a quick mark as busy. So let's say I'm actually not free from 4 to 5, a few clicks, and students will no longer see my availability. So, but they will still see me available for those hours and for the later sections. Yes.
Okay. So this was all you.
That means it's a hard question, doesn't it?
Yeah, it means it's, there's multiple ways to skin a cat. So go ahead, I'll let you do that. I can read it out. If an employer has open slots on the day of the fair and a student books a slot immediately before the session commences, does the employer receive a notification that a session has been booked?
The answer is no, you do not. The best way to manage that is to have this page open. And if you are attending a fair, then you should sort of consider yourself available. Again, I think what we just showed you is that if you do need to step away, you can mark these slots as busy. So the students will no longer be able to book those slots. So that would be sort of the solution we'd have there.
One thing I want to add to that, I know it's virtual and I know that we're in our houses, but then it also, I want us to try and like see this as if we was there in person, and someone just walked up to our booth, we'll happily have a conversation with them. Obviously, if you're not available, then that's separate. But I do really want us to treat this as if this was a fair and you're there in person. It's just the same sort of thing. It's just virtual. But yeah, I'm not going to labor that point no more. Okay, is the segment option added in the price, or does this feature cost extra? Great question. So with concerns to this segment kind of a functionality, that is part of the premium solution. So everybody that has signed up for the premium solution of Handshake will have access to the segment function, so that's kind of a given. Core users won't be able to segment them and send out mass campaigns, but they could still send out messages individually. So core is totally free and you can send out messages individually. We do have a limit on the amount of messages you can send. It is 100, but it's 100 per person you message. So if the person replies back and you message the person again, we're not going to take another credit for that. That's with that. I hope that's clear. Okay. Theo, do you want to get the next question?
Yeah, so headings, yes, I've been using the fully tricked out, completely premium, every single option turned on version of Handshake. Some different levels of permission are available for different types of account. Mine is also an admin account, so it has a lot of different options. Depending on the package you currently have with Handshake, those options will be added. As Francis was explaining, some of them are premium features and some of them are admin features.
Okay. But yeah, totally, if you want to, let me, before I forget, give me 30 seconds. I'm going to share my screen again. If you have any additional questions or you want to talk to us about your particular account, feel free to message us on UK partnerships at joinhandshake.com. So I'm going to put down the screen and share that. So yeah, so feel free to get in touch. Okay. So next question. Does the platform cater for students reaching out during the session hours, like a message service, if people visit your store during this time? Theo?
So just making sure I'm understanding the question, I think what you're asking about is, can somebody send you a message separate from meeting with you? The answer is yes, but it's very unlikely that a student would take that action. You can also message directly with career services during a fair, which is the more likely scenario. If you are in the middle of a video, videos do have chat functions, so group session videos, for example, students can send you messages similar to the functionality of Zoom during those group sessions as well. So there's a lot of different ways to read that question. But I think the main use case here would be if you're in the middle of a group session and a student wants to send you a message, they can do so within the video chat, similar to the way it works on Zoom. Okay, cool. So a very quick one.
this is being recorded and we will be sending this out to you afterwards. So I'll just do that one because that's a quick one. I can answer that one. Hi both. How do I add a group session if only had individual sessions scheduled? So I'm going to stop sharing and I would love for Theo to try and add that. Is that okay?
Yep, totally fine. So let's go back to this demo fair. So this would be a manage sessions button. So if you want to create a new session, you can just create a new group session. So if you previously had set up your schedule so that it was all one-to-ones, you would simply just choose this, and then you would go back to that sort of similar setup where you would choose a free slot where you're able to add it. So if I want to put one in at 4:30, choose who's actually going, and then a few of the other options here as well, and it'll get added directly from that screen.
And feel free to email UK partnerships at joinhandshake.com. We're more than happy to walk through certain things with you, but yeah, Theo did a great job of explaining that. So for that question, you probably won't need more support. Okay, is the creating a segment tool available to all users or just to premium users? It is only available to premium users. We are committed to make sure that you have a good experience, and so reach out to us and we can support you for this particular event to show you the functionalities and make sure that we fill up your schedule. Please reach out to us if you're attending this particular fair, but it is typically only available to premium users. It isn't something that we offer to core. Core is really, we had the 100 messages limit. So yeah, but like I said, we are committed to make sure that you have a great experience with this fair, and we want to make sure that if we can support, we will.
Yeah, and just to double down on that question, Angie, you do still have access to that search function, which has many of the same filters, not all of them. But if you are looking for a certain type of student and you want to do some outreach one-on-one, again, just clicking on that candidates tab and then search students. And apologies that this is a little slow to load, but those filters over there on the left are going to help you sort of filter down to the certain types of students you might be looking for. A lot of different ways that you can kind of filter who it is that you're doing outreach to, and then encouraging people to come to that fair.
Okay. I think that's everything. I really do appreciate your time, Theo. I appreciate everybody that's kind of stayed on and been a part of this and everything else. And so thank you very, very much. Oh, I do see a couple. Okay, just making sure that there was if there's any more questions that people had. Yeah, please let us know if you have any questions. Send us the email. Let me kind of share it one more time so everybody can see this email. We will be sending you this presentation as well. And yeah, thank you very much for your time. Phil, is there anything else that I've missed or that I should add?
Good luck, everyone. It's a busy time of year. It's a difficult time of year, but hopefully Handshake can make it a little bit more fun.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay, take care and we'll see you soon. Okay, so bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.